So you might have heard a lot about 12V HPWR lately. This is the latest GPU power connector for the latest GPUs, and this new power supply that we'll look at today features that and a few other neat features. Welcome to Machines and More. Originally, I wanted to check out this new power supply out in the Cooler Master Cube 500 review. Unfortunately, this guy arrived later, so I ended up using an SFX unit for the build, but now this is here and we'll still try to work it into the build. Big thanks to Cooler Master for sending this one by. I received this unit as a test unit free of charge, but this video isn't sponsored by them, and I'll be giving you my honest feedback as always. So they're also doing a giveaway. I'm not involved in that process at all, but as a sort of PSA, I will leave a link, details down below. Prizes are the Cube 500 like I built up recently, the new Atmos cooler, and the topic of today's video, which is the GX3 Gold power supply. So go ahead and check it out. So let's go ahead and unbox this thing. I'll show you what you get, and then I'll swap out the power supply, and then I'd like to do a quick comparison test of the efficiency between this and the power supply that I used previously. That's a platinum unit, so we'll see how well this stacks up and see if we can get some fan noise recorded here. The GX3 is a higher end power supply from Cooler Master. The naming, it's a little bit slightly confusing. They have the XG series, and those are platinum rated power supplies. They haven't been updated to PCIE 5 or ATX 3.0 yet. The lower level GX power supplies are bronze rated, so a bit more on the basic side. They've also got the GX2 now, but this one, the GX3, it's supposed to be in the highest tier of that family, and this conforms to ATX 3.0. So let's take a look in the box. This one is the 850 watt version. There's also a 650, 750, and higher than 850 watt version. There's a 1050 and a 1250 watt version also. So in the box, you've got this power supply, and let's take a close look at this unit. And I saw a pre-production unit with the Power business unit earlier this year at the Cooler Master headquarters. This looks just like that. It feels good. The finish quality is excellent. This paint is very evenly applied. You do have a big fan here. This is a 135 millimeter fan. It is supposed to be fanless operation up until a 40% load. Then it'll start ramping up slowly from that point. For 850 watts, that threshold works out to be about 340 watts. So for a lot of medium power gaming builds, you might never hit that level. And this power supply will be silent that entire time. So figure this Cube 500 build I did for the review, it was done with a 4070 and a 7600X. A pretty powerful gaming build at gaming loads. It's going to be less than 300 watts. Fully loaded 320 or 325 watts. So if silence and efficiency is your goal, then getting an 850 watt unit may have its merits. You might see in their marketing material that Cooler Master has claims titanium and level efficiency at light loads. Keep in mind, efficiency ratings can't really be separated out at particular load levels. You got to take the whole thing. It's a wholesale rating, meaning it's got to hit the minimum efficiency level of 90% efficiency at 10%, 92% at 20% load, all the way up to 90% at 100%. And you can't just, be able to get 92% and 20% load and kind of claim that titanium. But what they're saying is that this power supply can at least hit a few of those marks. At 10%, it's supposed to get 90.65% efficiency. At 20%, it hits 92%, and after that point is kind of where the efficiency falls short of being able to be titanium rated. So one thing they did do here was get an anodic heatsink. It's underneath the fan, so you probably won't be able to see it here, but it's supposed to keep things cooler. The impression here that I have is it's really sleek, and the screws that you would normally see with a comparable power supply, they're not on the front here. The hexagonal grid here over the fan, so it's a nice looking unit when you can display it. And I say that because in plenty of ATX cases, you'll never see your power supply. There's this special compartment where you would tuck something like this away, and all this kind of aesthetic improvement would be wasted. But in a case like the Cube 500, you're probably going to want something that works well and also looks nice because it's fully visible. Here in this pouch, you do have the fully modular cables. Modular means that you do have control of which cables to pick and choose and install your power supply. So at the bottom, you do have your 12V HPA ports. If you need that for your current gen GPU, you can do so. This is a straight connector to a 90-degree connector. So unfortunately, you do have a more unsightly connection at your card, but it's supposed to be more secure this way. You, in theory, can reverse it, but if you install the 90-degree end here, it basically covers all these things. So you really have to, I don't like all the tension on that cable end, so you pretty much do have to run it the way it's supposed to. 5 8-pin ports here, so if you are using a GPU that needs, say, 3 8-pin cables, and you are using 2 EPS cables for your CPU, absolutely fine here. You do have your ATX connectors here and 3 SATA power cable ports here as well. So let's build with this into the Cube 500, and then we'll run some tests with it. First, I just did a quick and dirty build here, just popped this guy in. Did notice a couple things, at least in this case, compared to the SFX unit before. Obviously it's a lot bigger and takes up more space. You do have to bring it down 1 notch. Right now it's sitting in the 2nd notch of the Cube 500 so that it won't interfere with the AIO. The fan I had to move down. This 120mm fan had to be shifted down to the bottommost slot. And you can see even then, this 12V HPWR connector butts up right against it. And then you've got this cable. It's just really weird having this cable come in and then run kind of upside down into the GPU. That's how they did it. The other thing is it's got this 450 watt print right on it. Some of you are not going to like that. You're going to want to black it out, but it's a little unsightly. So, not the greatest cable in the world. Having the ATX power supply length cables definitely made it a lot more easy. All right, so first I swapped this into the build with the 4070 directly, and I just compared apples to apples, the power draw at the wall against the VSFX 1100 watt. That's a platinum rated unit. Interestingly, the gold rated GX3 here pulled about 8 watts less than the platinum rated unit. It drew 317 watts while the VSFX drew 325 watts, so it is definitely more efficient around that 20 to 40% level like they claim, which is impressive. One thing to note, the 12V HPWR cable included with the 850 watt unit, it's rated at 450 watt. With the higher powered units, you usually see 600 watts. For example, with the VSFX 1100 watt from Cooler Master, you get a 600 watt cable. 450 watts is theoretically sufficient for a 4090. This is counting the 450 is already including the draw from the PCIe slot as well. By the way, if that's what you're trying to run, it should be fine. Keep in mind 850 watts is also kind of a minimum level of capacity you want to spec for your 4090 build as well. This cable does have the 4-spring update that makes it less prone to overheating and melting, and it definitely does require quite a bit of force to insert and remove it, so that is a plus here. So one of the things that was a bit clunky though regarding that 12V HPWR is the location of that port. It would have been fine if this fan wasn't here, but visually it's still in a little bit of an odd location. These connectors, they are quite long. It's more prominent. That is specific to this case though, as long as you can connect it securely, and if you don't care too much about seeing it, then it's fine. If you have the power supply in a tucked away compartment, that's a non-issue as well. So you'll notice I mounted this one with the fan facing the inside of the case, and there's 2 reasons for that. One, the busy labeling, it's on the other side of the power supply, so if you flipped it around, it'd be showing on that side. Also, the fan, it would be right up against this outer panel if I had it facing this way, and it has the potential to cause some odd noise in this case. As for the fan noise, it took a while to get the fan turned on. So not only does it have to be drawing at least the 40% level, it seems that it also has to get hot enough to warrant that. And this was with the system drawing about 500 watts at the wall. With the 4070 installed, it never turned on. That is good news if you're aiming for that level of build. And I did have to switch over to the 6800 XT in this build right now just to get it to draw enough power to trigger that fan. So And even then, it took a while. It took about 20-25 minutes for the power supply to get hot enough to respond that the fan turned on.
So right now it's just the power supply fan. So it is pretty quiet here. And there is ramp turning off because I turned everything off. It's not bad. The larger fan does have a very polished noise profile there.
In the past, I have experienced fan spiking with units like Cooler Master or V-Series ATX units, but this one really ramps up gently. So once you get up to 50% load, it plateaus at around 700 RPM, then it's not supposed to go any faster until 70%, where it will then ramp up to 100%. So if you've right-sized the power supply for your level of components and you keep the load to below 70% or so, I don't think that fan noise is going to be an issue here. Pricing for the unit, for reference, I was told 850 watts. Like I have here, it's $199 US, and the 750 watt is $189 US. So on one hand, you have an ATX 3.0 unit, which is quiet and polished aesthetically. It's got a native 12V HPWR port and high efficiency at low load levels. But on the other hand, it's only able to meet the minimum for 80 plus gold at the higher loads. At the lower loads, it's very efficient. The cables, they're mostly average stock cables here. So I think the big selling point here is the native 12V HPWR port versus just including an adapter cable like a lot of competing units do. And there really aren't too many 850 watt ATX units with that feature, and something like Seasonic's Vertex 850, which has that. It's also priced similarly. So if you do want native 12V HPWR, this is a good choice. The new 12V 2x6 standard is coming. Of course, it will be backwards compatible with 12V HPWR cables, but perhaps also consider that at the power supply end of things, the change is also likely to be happening soon. Right now, if you are looking for a good-looking, quiet ATX 3.0 unit with those features, where instead of being tucked in a corner, it will be displayed, and you want it to look good, this is definitely one to check out. So I hope you found this information helpful. If so, give a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the giveaway if it's not over yet. So I will leave links down below when the unit is available. Thanks for watching.